probably want to shut the doors in case the dogs start to bark, or are we not going to worry about that?
I don't think we have to worry about that.
Oh, Triclops fell.
Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome back to Hallway Productions, or welcome to, if you are new here, my name is Miri, this is Dad, and today we are going to talk about something that awakened our, what was it, 4-month break?
Yeah.
So, as many of you may know, there's a slightly popular TV show out right now on Disney Plus called Book of Boba Fett.
I've heard otherwise.
And some people, normal people, I shouldn't say that, but like most of us think us pretty great. I am personally really enjoying it, but I also am one of those who watches Star Wars because I like to watch the ships blow up.
Look!
But there are a couple people who have been complaining about Boba Fett for whatever reason.
A few people, and there are some legit complaints, okay? And I wore my Boba Fett sweatshirt. If you need street cred, we'll insert the picture here of me when, I think this picture was circa 1981. Where, yes, I literally did wear my Boba Fett Underoos t-shirt to my Little League T-ball, it would have been T-ball awards ceremony, and picked up my trophy, not in my baseball uniform, but in my Boba Fett t-shirt. As my family has heard me ranting and raving, I can legit claim to be a Boba Fett fan since the beginning. I mean, Boba Fett was kind of cool and unique from the beginning. If you've watched any of like Disney Plus's special on Boba Fett. So yeah, the ranting and raving is driving me a little bit crazy. So, and I'll discuss why.
I personally, like I said, my favorite part of Star Wars has always been watching the ships blow up. So, like, as someone who consumed a lot of Star Wars animated content, even before I watched the movies and stuff, I really have an indifferent opinion on Boba Fett. Hey friends, editing Miriam here just to say, I think what I'm trying to say in this segment is I don't have as much as an emotional attachment to Boba Fett. Not so much that I'm indifferent about Boba Fett. It's just I didn't have the same, like, dad growing up with Boba Fett, growing up loving the character. I am just now starting to form those emotional attachments to the character. And he's still like up there in cool characters I like, because any character with a helmet on, I'm like, yes, good, great character. Most of the things I've seen have been from a writing standpoint, which I'm such a, like, okay, there are people who watch movies and there are people who watch films.
Yes.
And as a film student, I feel like I can say this. I don't go to watch Boba Fett with a critical eye. I watch it to have fun. I watch it to go.
It's entertainment. And Mim fits into, I kind of went on a tirade a little bit on social medias.
Insert screenshots here.
With my friends and stuff like that. And I really think Boba Fett is starting, everybody talks about how toxic the Star Wars fandom is and how we go after each other and all that kind of stuff. I think Boba Fett is one of those series that's showing there's actually 3 groups. You've got the old coggers like me that grew up with the original trilogy, and we have a certain point of view. Then you have the prequel generation, and those are the kids, of course, that were young when the prequels were coming out, but especially grew up on what you were talking about, the animated content, especially Clone Wars, right? Then you have that third group, which is, and this doesn't necessarily mean ages, it's just when people have jumped into the fandom. And then you have the Disney era. And usually whenever a Star Wars fan says the Disney era, it's a negative. I'm not saying it so much as a negative. What I mean by the Disney era, it's the people that Mando brought in, and the sequel trilogy, and that's their view of Star Wars. And so,
which isn't a bad view.
It's not, but as I've kind of gone through and read articles, and of course most of the online articles are junk anyway, because I noticed this when I was in college writing on my master's thesis. to get attention and get anywhere, you trash whatever it is you're writing about or talking about. I'm left a little kind of astonished because everybody loved Mando, the Mandalorian. Boba Fett's following basically the same formulas and everything else. Now, granted, you didn't have the Vespa biker gang kids.
The youth,
which I think it's hilarious. So many people lost their minds over that.
Okay, can I just say this as an edgy Gen Z 17-year-old? That the Vespa biker gang is just my friend group.
Guys my age that are being highly critical of Boba Fett, it's because they have forgotten. They're looking at it, and they've looked at all Star Wars properties through grown-up eyes. And Star Wars has always been meant to be viewed through those 10,
little kid,
11,
hopped
12-year-old
up on
eyes.
sugar.
Say, like George Lucas said originally, it is a fairy tale.
I think it's just good and evil. The simplicity of the whole story is what really makes it work. It's a fantasy, and I think we all grew up in a fantasy world, and I think that it works on that level.
It is meant to be a morality play. That's why The Last Jedi, I'm sorry guys what your feelings are, and yes, I'm talking about Last Jedi sucked.
So bad.
Like Filoni said, you're supposed to leave a Star Wars story feeling hopeful.
You bring it out just as the war in Vietnam is ending, when America feels uncertain of itself, when the old stories have died, and you bring it out at that time, and suddenly it's a new game. Also, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to watch Star Wars.
You're supposed to know that there are these archetypes and overarching, these tropes that are good versus evil, and that good will win in the end.
I also think as creative writers and stuff, tropes tend to have a negative connotation.
Right.
When they're not.
And you can't, Star Wars is all about the tropes.
Trope is not a bad thing. It's a writing tool.
Boba Fett is really starting to I think, show you've got the original fandom, my age, in our 40s and 50s even now, scary, and 60s, moving into our 60s, that overall we like Boba Fett. I mean, yeah, we have our issues here and there. It's kind of like, well, that's a little weird. Like, I have a really good friend who pointed out, and I do kind of agree with this, Boba Fett is trying to be a hard, take no prisoners, establish this, thing. And he walks around with his helmet off all the time. Keep that helmet on. That's generation would say that's what made Mando cool, right? And if we think back about it, that's what made Boba Fett cool to us, is that helmet. Yeah, we've seen Boba Fett. Yeah, his character's being developed, and we're seeing it go in these different ways. But it would be a good trigger for the audience when they know that that helmet's on in him. He means business. I do agree with that somewhat, because that's what made Mando so cool. Din Djarin's character he had his helmet. That was his face. So there are legitimate gripes, but overall, it is an awesome series. The series is Star Wars, guys. I'm sorry. You talk to us who grew up with Star Wars, it feels like Star Wars. It's like I told my kids when I was sitting there watching Rogue One and Vader's hallway scene, all of a sudden you remembered, besides everything else that's happened, you remembered what you were like when you were 6, 7, sitting in that movie theater and seeing Darth Vader on the big screen, and you were freaked out. You felt that in Rogue One, like, oh no, kind of thing. Boba Fett gives that feeling. So I think guys our age, guys and girls, loving Boba Fett.
Guys is a gender neutral term.
Right. Then you get into that middle group, the prequel generation. The prequel generation, from what I can tell, again, like the older generation, the OT, the original trilogy generation, they are enjoying Boba Fett. But Boba Fett for them has never had the mystique or the mystery, because they, in some cases, literally grew up with Boba Fett as the character. They saw him as the young kid in Attack of the Clones, and then they saw his story arcs in Clone Wars as he's growing up. So the mystery and the mystique, they didn't grow up with that like we did, right? I mean, even before the prequels started to come out, we had comics and novels all about Boba Fett that kind of fleshed out him as a character, but never his origin. well, the prequel kids grew up, but they still are enjoying Boba Fett, and they critique it in different ways, right? They're all hoping that more of like the Clone Wars and Rebel era characters get drawn in. The most of the shots being fired from Boba Fett that I can tell online, they're coming from the third group. They're coming from the Disney era sequel trilogy group.
Dot, would you like to give your opinion?
Yeah. Are, from what I can tell, a basic misconception of what going back to the thing, what Star Wars is and what it's trying to accomplish. This last episode with Boba Fett, episode 4, if those of you that aren't, I think that
was Kai's tale. Sorry, guys.
Finally, the writers and the directors finally realized good timing for it to come out now. Boba Fett is admitting he is different. He's not the, take no prisoners, bounty hunter, I'm bringing you in, dead or alive.
He's older now. He's mellow. He's chill.
Well, he's older. He has spent, as much as we can tell, as far as we can tell, if we're following the timeline, he's spent 4 to 5 years with the Tuscans. Mm-hmm. And he spent probably, which is crazy, this would be an interesting thing to find out, but he obviously was in the Sarlacc for not a few days. No. He was down in there for a while. Mentally, that's going to mess you up, right? But this last episode 4, was really cool. Just his conversations with Fennec about, I realized I need to try. He can't do the crazy bounty hunting like he used to do, but he wants to become kind of the father figure Jango was. For all of how crazy Jango turned out to be, they made him out Attack of the Clones. The one thing that's been consistent with Boba Fett throughout all his stories and stuff is he loved his father. And I think in a way, him creating this family, he's trying to become that father figure. Mm-hmm. I guess because of my generational perspective, I do not understand some of the lobs and bombs being thrown at Boba Fett, especially when it's in comparison to The Mandalorian, because guess what, guys? Without Boba Fett, there would be no Mandalorian. And you can't slam on The Mandalorian or on Book of Boba Fett and then uphold The Mandalorian as this great, awesome thing, because they're basically the same thing. Whether Lucas intentionally did this or not, kind of going back to those tropes and the mythology that was introduced with A New Hope, and then you see Empire Strikes Back, it really is, and everybody knows this, it's the hero's journey.
It's just an old-fashioned cowboy movie set in space.
But Lucas was adding complexity to the story as he went. Till you get to the point with the prequels, he's still doing that. It amazes me sometimes. I mean, I totally missed out on this until Filoni's talking about it in if you haven't watched the gallery episodes on Disney Plus. Duel of the Fates. Yeah, I'm sitting there thinking Duel of the Fates. Okay, who's going to win? Darth Maul. Darth Maul, the Jedi. Who's doing what? But he was able to take it so much deeper, and it's Duel of the Fates because it's the fate of Anakin. That's the complexity that's in when you really dive into it. So I think you can read it or watch these with a critical eye, like you're saying, but it's not film critique.
Last Jedi, it's so controversial because it, at least to me, even someone who's relatively new to the Star Wars fandom, it didn't feel like Star Wars.
It did. Yeah, it didn't.
And as much as I love the characters of Rey and Poe and Finn and BB-8 and all of them,
it's like your brother said, The Last Jedi is his least favorite movie, but it has his favorite lightsaber scene.
And also,
the
cinematography is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. It's just the writing did not feel like a Star Wars movie.
Right. It's just that the people who hold the platforms that are able to get their word out are the ones that are in, it's that third group, which, we can say whatever we want to about that age group or whatever. It started with like I said, I pointed out how it kind of started with my age group, where to make a name for yourself, you didn't praise or point out the good things about something. You tore that thing down and dissected it and described everything that was horrible with it. You're to the point where you can't even appreciate something that's just fun and entertaining and good.
Once again, people who watch films instead of movies. And so we are here as a nerdy film student who just likes to watch explosions, and a dude who has loved Star Wars since he was
a dude who's not just loved Star Wars, but history and mythology, and has taught history and mythology and understands Star Wars' intent, I guess.
Basically, we're just trying to put out some good things about Boba Fett.
Yes.
And it's a good show.
And you know what? Some good things. Look at this beautiful figure. Look at that. That's actually mine from when I was a kid. And because I love Boba Fett so much, when my wife and I got married, my brother-in-laws, as I guess a sort of wedding gift, gave me what few Star Wars vintage figures they had left, which included that Boba Fett. My current favorite one, soon to be replaced with the official Book of Boba Fett design Boba Fett. I went out and found a third-party throne. But he's there. Awesome. And yes, and part of us making this video, and I dragged Mim into it, is because Boba Fett, he was of all Star Wars characters. He never was quite all the way bad and evil, and he definitely wasn't good, but he was a guy who...
He's a bounty hunter.
But yeah, no, Book of Boba Fett is awesome. Yeah, there's some little tweaks and things that you're kind of like, huh? But if you understand Star Wars, you understand the lore, the mythos, sit back and enjoy it.
I think this is really the point we are trying to make, is like, why...
Quit hating on everything just to make a name for yourself.
Yeah, why not praise things for the good things? There's enough negativity on the internet, and I can say that as a person who's been on the internet since she was like 10.
Yeah, it's Star Wars content, it's things 30 years ago, all of us Star Wars fans, we couldn't have dreamt we'd have this much Star Wars content available to us. For Star Wars to be where it is now, and for us older fans, I mean, that's the reason I'm almost a 50-year-old still buying action figures, is because there was such a long drought. Enjoy it. You guys don't realize how good, especially you critics, get off your high horses and realize it's entertainment. You fans that are ripping it apart, of course there's issues with it. There's going to be issues with everything.
Anyway, if you like this video, please consider subscribing and give us a big like. I've learned some more things about the YouTube algorithm, so if you could help us out, that would be very grateful. Anyway, we will see you in the next video.
You're no good to me, dead.
That was one thing. And my dance teacher was like, you know what, in the Book of Boba Fett, I just really hope they explain when Darth Vader goes up to him and goes, no disintegration. Anyway, bye!
He never was quite all the way bad and evil, and he definitely wasn't good, but he was a guy who...
He was a bounty hunter.
Yeah, he